Hey everybody, it's GoblinX, and welcome back to another Arena Cube draft, this time featuring Outlaws of Thunder Junction, Modern Horizons 3, tons of new super powerful cards. Without further ado, let's just get into the pack one, pick one here. Tons of great places to go, but I kind of like starting with Elvish Mystic. I think the 1-mana dorks are pretty irreplaceable for any green decks. You get to ramp into some pretty big plays early with these. You get to skip up to higher mana values while your opponent is stuck on earlier stuff. You try to just overwhelm them with really big cards before they can catch up, really. So I think one-drop mana dorks are some of the best cards for any green decks, and so I kind of like starting there. It's also a pretty different place from our first draft, starting in blue-black. So I think that's a cool place to be. Again, tons of stuff to mention. Great interaction like Golagon's Command, Supreme Will for a counter, excellent card draw with Iteration, Shove Aside's great removal, Time Warp's pretty huge for blue decks, but I would like to start green today, and we're going to grab an Elvish Mystic on that front. For pick 2, Bone Crusher Giant is pretty incredible in any red deck, so it's going to be no different in green-red. It's a removal spell and a creature all in one, and any cards like that are quite good. Wandering Emperor can be a removal spell and a planeswalker all in one, so that's really nice towards green-white. Lovestruck Beast keeps us mono green. It's just a great card for a stompy deck. One of the funnest curves you can do is turn 1 Elvish Mystic, turn 2 Lovestruck Beast. If they can't clear out your Mystic, you just have a 5/5 attacking in on turn 3, which is super gross. There's tons of cheap red removal here. Molten Impact, Unholy Heat, and Fanged Flames, which I think would all be pretty high picks and get some other players into red out of this pack. So that would be maybe some competition, some reasoning not to take Bone Crusher Giant here, because this pack probably puts other players into red. But I still really don't think it would be unreasonable to take Bone Crusher. But the Elvish Mystic into Lovestruck Beast Wombo combo curve is pretty fun, and I think it'd be nice to commit pretty deep to one color to start off, choose our secondary later. So we're going to grab the Lovestruck Beast. Pick 3, we get some more great red, Volcanic Spite and Royal Eruption. For interaction, alternatively, stick to green. Huatli gets played in green-red or green-white. Flipper into the Great Roar of the Fifth People. Multiple 3/3s out of that. That'd be reasonable. I really don't like green-blue. It's pretty much the only green deck I wouldn't want to draft and the only blue deck I wouldn't want to draft. It's just pretty awkward. They just don't pair together super well because green has almost no instants and blue has, tons of good counter spells and stuff. And there's not a lot of cards that overlap well between the two colors. I'd almost rather take anything else than a blue card here. Ornithopter of Paradise could be reasonable. Just get a pretty rampy start with Mystic and Ornithopter towards playing some big threats. But Huatli's also not ramp, but she guarantees your land drops, making sure you're going to get to higher mana values. Yeah, I think Huatli's pretty reasonable. We'll just stick to green. Now for pick 4. More great red aggro. Wow, if we just took Bone Crusher, we would just be on it here, but there's so much red at this point. Maybe we do take one of them and go green-red. Or, again, there has been a reasonable green card in every single pack. Once upon a time, very good in your opening hand, and just okay as a late-game top deck. But casting this for free is pretty absurd. It's excellent card selection. I'm going to take Once Upon a Time. As you can see, it's banned in multiple formats because how good it is in an opening hand. Pick 5. Alright, things are finally starting to dry up a little bit. I mean, there's fine cards for sacrifice decks, like Blood-Soaked Champion. Could ramp into an Eternal Wanderer, I guess. Could take the Shatterskull Smashing just because we've seen a lot of red towards green-red. What does this even do? Draw a card, exile an artifact or creature from your hand, create a token that's a copy of it, but it's a 3/3. It's probably not actually that good in cube. It's pretty cute, though. It's fun for sure. I'm just going to go with Shatterskull Smashing. Now we can get a Braid, but Workshop Warchief's incredible towards green. Really good for any green stompy deck. Can help stabilize you against more aggressive decks because you're gaining life when you play it, and you get to trade this off twice. Trade it off into an attacker, and they can get a 4/4 replacement, so you still have a blocker up. Warchief is huge. Again, more pretty fun off-color stuff, but we're real deep green. And we're in a solid position to stick to it. Pick 7. Really efficient black removal spells here with Edict, Ichor, and Cut Down. And then there's the Elspeth Conquers Death from the other colors. I don't think this combat trick looks very good by cube standards. I think it's going to be one of the black spells here. Or the white spell, the Elspeth Conquers Death, because Watley wants to go green-red or green-white. Yeah, we'll take the Elspeth Conquers Death here. It's a great way to clear out a larger permanent, a higher mana value card, because you get to clear it out and then also reanimate the best card from a grave later. From your grave specifically. Alright, pick 8. Tear Asunder towards green-black. But again, Watley wants green-white or green-red, and Collective Finds towards green-red still looks pretty good. Go with our Shadow Skull Smashing. Pick 9. Shove Aside Wield. I mean, our opening pack was very, very good. But Shove Aside is great. I mean, Strangle is in the cube too, and that is just a strictly worse version of this card. It's just this card, but it doesn't ever have flash. Yeah, Shove Aside is just really efficient interaction. I like that a lot. Godric, solid for every aggressive deck, but that cheap interaction is going to be pretty premium, especially in green-red, where green is not going to have the good removal spells. Wow. The red is still flying around. Unholy Heat and Molten Impact are both great removal spells, even in green-red. These are both better in non-green-red decks that have more card types than just creatures and a couple removal spells, because both of these care about... this one cares about Delirium, this one cares about casting instant sorceries, but I think they're both still good here, and I like sticking green-red beats. I'm going to take the bigger removal of Molten Impact. Now we've got that Royal Eruption that can go face in the late game, like that over Volcanic Spite for green-red, because we're cool with tapping out at sorcery speed for everything. Now we've got Play with Fire for cheap removal. Honestly, red is so open that maybe start pushing mono red here off Swift Spear, but I think Play with Fire is better than Swift Spear for green-red in particular, because Prowess is not going to be the greatest. Alright, I mean, we're pretty locked in now. We could have locked in earlier and had some slightly stronger red cards, and if I did start red right off the bat, we might have been, like, this is a draft pod, we could be full mono red aggro probably. But yeah, it's just a bunch of good green creatures and good red removal spells. Slap it all together and we've just got a good green-red beats deck. Here's an Essica's Chariot for just an insane amount of stats for that mana cost. Just keep spitting out an army from then on. I think we take that over Embercleave. I mean, with how open red is, it could absolutely be reasonable to just take Embercleave and have that alternative path of trying to be almost completely mono-red at this point. Because we'll still play Embercleave in red-green. It's just that Essica's Chariot's definitely stronger because it's good in any position, whereas the Embercleave's only good when you're still aggressive. We've got a lot of attackers, and in green-red we're going to have slightly less kind of attacking creatures. It's going to have fewer but bigger ones. I don't think it's likely that we're going to be able to take enough red cards to go full mono-red at this point, so I think Chariot is just going to be better, and we're pretty committed to green and red together. Yeah, like here we can't play Atali in mono-red, but we can play it in green-red. Take a little bit more ramp. So we have Elvish Mystic for ramp, and we have Watley to pick up a land towards it. Basically, if we ever cast a Tali, we just win. So it is worth drafting some ramp to get to if you're in green. Cast a random non-land from both decks. Yeah, it almost always just wins the game. Scoop that up. If we wanted to stay real aggressive, Briarbridge Tracker's great at that. 3 mana, 4/3 Vigilance, plus draw a card at some point. And Tracker's great value. Oracle's also great value. Potentially huge ramp. Okay, pick 3. 4 mana, 8/4. That's a thing. Hopefully we can wheel that, though, because red did seem real open. Even if green was drafted a little higher. I don't think there's another green-red drafter specifically. And there's no way we're going to wheel Deeproot Wayfinder, and it's just a little bit harder to find the great cheap spells. Then the good mid-range spells, there's tons of those, like Rekindling Phoenix is pretty good at 4 mana as well. And Ainsrag can just keep getting chomped. Well, I guess he can't, right? Untaps himself. If he gets chomped, he just attacks again. It's pretty cool. It's the new hotness as well, but Deeproot being able to potentially ramp is so big. Ainsrag's too cute. Too cute. Alright, Magda ramps us up, giving us a treasure every time she attacks. Like that. This Magda also ramps up. Whenever we commit crimes, they ramp, so when we're targeting our opponent's cards, which we're doing a decent amount of the time, either Magda is definitely the pick to ramp up into our bigger plays, although Pest Infestation can be big. Obviously better when you're playing against artifacts and enchantments, but it's always going to be, you know, X mana for X 1/1s. Ridgeline's solid as well for fixing. Drakasar is like a huge finisher, but there's tons of huge finishers. I really want to get some ramp in here. I'm going to grab the ramp card and scoop up a Magda. Okay, now Wild Nacottle's fun. Not the greatest in just green-red. Same with Tribal Flames. Huntsman's Redemption's kind of whatever. We could take Wolfwillow Haven for more ramp. Somewhat more mediocre ramp. Almost rather take Rootbound Crag. We have double greens and double reds. I think Wolfwillow Haven is mediocre enough ramp to take the Crag over. I would certainly take like 1 mana 1/1s that tap for mana, or creatures that ramp like while they're attacking, like Magda, over the Wolfwillow, or over the Rootbound Crag, but I won't take the Wolfwillow over the green-red duel, I think. Explorer's fine. It's pretty comparable to Wolfwillow Haven. Kind of mediocre ramp, but this time we don't really have another option. We could take Slickshot Show off if we were going like the full mono red, but ramping up. Golos, I guess, ramps a little bit, but we're not going to draft enough lands to do the full 5-color ability. Alright. Grook is very good in one scenario. Grook is really good when your opponent has like a 2/2 on board, and you can kill it with Grook and flip them. That's when Grook's great. Otherwise, Grook's just okay. So I kind of want to take Boseiju, which just improves the deck no matter what. It just never gets cut. We play it over a forest, and now we have main deck artifact enchantment, non-basic land removal. There's Pillar of Flame. It's the only on-color card. I'm not going to main deck our Acclamation Sage, especially when I have a Boseiju. Just grab the adversary. We have tons of instants and sorceries to recast with this. I think we just need to take a bunch of good creatures in the last pack, and then we're golden. Just load up the creature slot. I would not really count Plarg as a great creature, so I'm going to pass up on that. I could try to splash it in Uro, but you'd really like to escape the Uro. Would I take Ridgeline over Townraiser Tyrant when I am looking for creatures? Probably. On-colored duels are still such high picks. Thinking over Pest Infestation too, though. We're definitely passing up on stuff to get the fixing there. Okay, there's a 1 mana 2/2, sure. I'll grab a 1 mana 2/2 on that one. I'm not going to play Gingerbrute. And let's see what the final pack has in store for us. Okay. So, Wooded Foothills. Sky Sovereign for a great mid-rangey finisher creature. Humblewag for even cheaper kind of finisher. Just has to be dealt with or it's going to go insane. Rampaging Raptors, a solid hasty threat. Elder Dragon Wars, another little mini board wipe plus creature all in one. This is a very good pack. Sky Sovereign, Tumblewag, Rampaging Raptor, Wooded Foothills, and Elder Dragon War are all great additions to the deck. but I'm just going to take some creatures real highly. I'll go for the Tumblewag. Being able to turn 1 Mystic into turn 2 Tumblewag would be pretty gross. And that is definitely a possibility. Alright, we got a Primeval Titan at the top of the curve. That's pretty wild. There's also a Rishkar in the middle that can ramp up like crazy, or a Nissa that can completely win the game if she is not dealt with. Get like a 4/4, 5/5, 6/6. Just keep loading up creatures. Fanatic of Veronis always taps for 1. Once we get some beef on the board, taps for quadruple green. Yeah, that's huge ramp. It also eternalizes, like, no matter what. If it's in our grave, we can just spend 4 and get a 4/4 out that taps for 4. Fanatic seems awesome, and it can lead to potential Atali blowouts where we play an Atali on, like, turn 4, because we can go Fanatic into Lovestruck Beast and then just Atali on turn 4. That's pretty insane. Yeah, Fanatic seems awesome in here. Hellrider's fine. We don't have super wide boards often. We don't have token production outside of, like, Chariot. I guess Lovestruck Beast, sort of, but it's not a great Hellrider deck, but it'll still be fine in here and definitely better than the Stonecoil Serpent. I don't think we're a good Craterhoof Behemoth deck. I think 8 mana is a little hard, so I'm going to take another good mid-range threat with Rada here. She can also draw us some cards if we have any lands on top. Just get through that land clump a little faster. Dragonwing Glider for a fine finisher, or Voracious Hydra can be removal and a creature. All in one. Pretty flexible mana value. I'll go for the Hydra here. Pick 7, another ramp card with Incubation Druid. So it ramps a little bit in the early game, and then we can adapt it later to, like, jump up into playing an Atali on, like, turn 5. It's pretty cool. Yep, looks like the best card for us in this pack. And this pack doesn't have much, but Professional Facebreaker can ramp up with some treasure tokens. Just as we're beaten down. Elder Dragon War here. If this were best of 3, Elder Dragon War would be a great pickup. Might be a little weak against controlling decks to just run main deck, because it's real bad if we go against something more controlling. It's only good, really, against aggro. I mean, it is always a 4-mana 4/4 flyer at worst, but that is just not up to par by cube standards. Searing Blood's a little too difficult to cast for its impact on the game. But I'm not going to play Retrofitter Foundry, probably. Really good mana sink for decks with a lot of instants, but this is not going to be one of those decks. I could run a random Sacred Foundry just for Wild Nacatl randomly, but I'm probably cutting Wild Nacatl. Just 1 mana 2/2. It's, again, just not that insane. Channeler's real slow. Just cut that right away. So Once Upon a Time and Shatter Skull Smashing are basically both lands, because Once Upon a Time is a land if it's in our opener, and Shatter Skull Smashing is a land whenever. So whatever the land count says, we're 2 above that already. So we're on 19 lands. I think I probably just cut 1 land here, though, because we do still have, like, really high top end. But I can certainly cut a land with Shatter Skull Smashing and Once Upon a Time in the deck. So let's drop 1 of those. And then we need to cut 4 spells here. Wild Nacatl's going to be one of them. I mean, for curve purposes, a 1 mana 2/2 is, like, not that unimpressive. I'm just not excited. Elder Dragon War I'm not really excited about unless I'm in the right matchup. Turn 4 Chariot, turn 5 Nissa would be absolutely filthy. Even if they like killed all the cats, we play a Nissa, get the 5/5 horror, the 4/4 horror or whatever, and then make a copy of it off Chariot, because we crew the Chariot with the horror. Yeah, that is super nasty. Explorer might be our weaker ramp. We've got Fanatic and Druid and Mystic and Magda, Facebreaker to an extent. Yeah, drop Explorer. We're at 15 creatures. Well, we've got a Chariot and a Nissa, kind of like our 16th, 17th creature. So still plenty. So last card to cut will probably be just one random creature. Yeah, I think I'm just taking something in the middle of the curve out of here. Rada or Facebreaker. So Rada does nothing if there's no lands on top of our deck. She's a 3/3. But anytime there is land on top of our deck, that's immediately we draw one card. We just play the land off the top and we've dug through. Went up a card in value. I don't know, these are both somewhat high variance, because the Facebreaker's also like we have to be able to keep hitting our opponent. But then we can use the treasures for card draw or ramp. Maybe it's Hellrider, as I said. We just don't have super wide boards that often. Maybe it's one of the random burn spells. Pillar of Flame or Play with Fire. A lot of cards we could cut here. I'm gonna go for the Rada. Actually, Voracious Hydra is another one we could cut. It's never great for the mana cost, it's just the fact that you can play it at any point that makes it good. So that could be a thing. I don't know. I'm dropping Rada out of here. I want to get into some gameplay. We've got pretty much equal red and green cards. We've got 7 to 6 pretty equal on sources. Because I've got an 8th red off Shatter Skull Smashing, so we do that, and then we're exact even. Yeah, sure. Even mana sources. Let's call it a deck here and get some Gruul beats going in. Alright, here we are for game 1. No 1-drop or 2-drop in here, so it's a bit of a slower hand. But we'll see. Maybe we can Once Upon a Time into Elvish Mystic. That'd be pretty nice. I think we do cast it turn 1 just in case we find Elvish Mystic in the top 5. We did not. That was a big miss. It's all mana, so now we're on 5 lands here. Could absolutely be a little flooded to the point where maybe I'm supposed to take Boseiju, but I feel like second red here. It's definitely a thing, because we've got good double red cards in the deck. Alright, we'll Royal Eruption this Ledger Shredder. Ooh. Would mean not playing Fanatic right now. Fanatic now, next turn I can't Facebreaker an Eruption anyway. Yeah, I just want to Eruption this thing before our opponent does any nonsense that might throw any counters onto it. Or get them any card draw. And there's a 1-drop, so they might have double spelled. Alright, Facebreaker is ramp as well, if it manages to poke our opponent one time. Fanatic would be the more guaranteed way to play War Chief next turn. But Facebreaker is the better way to do so if they can't stop it. Because then we also get damage in, and we get to keep a menace threat around. So let's get it going. Tumblewag's a pretty solid draw. Could have went for the Tumblewag here. Just kept the treasure to potentially draw a card off Facebreaker later. But I feel like we're in a really good position where any line we take is going to pan out pretty well here. When it attacks while saddled, it does stuff. Okay. Got an Atali finisher ready. Okay, triggers at the beginning of combat on our turn either way, so let's drop Tumblewag and move to beginning of combat. Spread the love a little bit. Nightclub Bouncer, that is a really annoying card. Bounces the War Chief. Now it costs 7 to cast. Okay. Here is a Fanatic. We can definitely Atali next turn no matter what happens. Although ideally Fanatic is still on board so that we can cast an Atali without spending any treasure. We might even be able to cast an Atali and have some mana up, if we're super lucky. 2/3 Dust Animus is the play. I think they misread it as if they have 5 or more lands, then it'll be big, and not 5 or more untapped lands. How long does this last? We play that card this turn. Okay, so lorning the treasure's a little annoying, because I can't, like, sack it for any value, but they don't interact with any of our creatures, which means post-combat Atali holding up, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus 4, we have 10 mana, so we get to hold up 4 mana post-Atali? Sure. I guess 3 mana. Stoic Sphinx, Lovestruck Beast. We don't have a 1/1, so we need one. Let's Heart's Desire. Cast the Beast itself. Basically force a board wipe out of our opponent at this point, or else they are way behind. And we're still fine through a board wipe. They lost 4 of their own cards, and we've still got threats. Pillar of Flame is the draw. I feel like I'm just gonna send everybody in and see what happens. I do have to saddle at sorcery speed, right? Yeah. I don't have particularly good creatures to saddle with, because saddling with Fanatic and the 1/1 means not having the extra 4 mana out of Fanatic. Could saddle with Facebreaker. I guess I'm probably just not attacking with Tumblewag anyway, right? Yeah. Just a juicy, super lethal Atali. If they don't deal with it. And let's just see what happens. Math is for blockers. I'm sure they have some great double blocks and stuff here. The most important part is going to be what spells they have up. "12 power, indestructible trample, and they get a bunch of poison. If I flip a Tali, they're going to get 12 poison. Not 12 poison, 9 poison. Okay, this doesn't kill Facebreaker. This doesn't kill Sphinx. This doesn't kill Lovestruck Beast. I think I just let it all happen. This is all favorable already. We wait to see what they're doing. Okay, we're both going to draw a card. Sure. Okay. Looks like it's just happening. They gotta be just digging for a board wipe, I guess. What do we have? Facebreaker. Den of the Bugbear. Well, that's land for turn. And honestly, they're so insanely dead here. I'm not going to put anything else on board. Just going to hold up the mana to flip Atali so that Atali's indestructible through a board wipe. And they just don't find one in the first place, so we get to start things off 1-0 into game 2. Alright, here we are now on the draw. We've got Den of the Bugbear hold up an instant speed shove aside for cheap interaction. Our first threat is going to be a Tumblewag, which is a great one they're going to have to deal with. Whatley's going to make sure we hit at least the 4th land towards Atali, which is the best finisher in our deck. I like the hand a lot. It's got a little bit of everything. And our opponent starts with Fabled Passage for a forest. Green-black, there's Incubation Druid, shove that right aside. Deal with that mana ramp and slow our opponent down. They're already on the play, they don't need any more speed going for them. I don't think we're going to out-aggro the opponents. I don't think we're just running out an adversary for 2 damage. I think we hold off to recast a shove aside. We can deal with another 3 toughness or less threat. And now we've drawn into our turn 5 play, right? Turn 3, turn 4, turn 5. We know how we're curving. I guess Whatley's their turn 4 and turn 5 play, because we can just flip Whatley turn 4. Or sorry, turn 5. Just Cultivator and ramp up. Means no lands in hand since they got to cast that for 2, so 2 more spells in there. Alright. I've got all the mana in the world, so if they cast their own Grave Titan or a Atali kind of threat, things are going to be bad for me. Not really anything I can do about it here. We don't quite have the adversary mana. I'm just loading up the Tumblewag here. Put a lot of pressure on my opponent's life. Because we're probably flipping Whatley at some point anyway, so it doesn't feel like +1/+1 counters on Whatley are going to give us that much value anyway. So sure, all our eggs are in one basket, but if that basket dies, it's still dealt 6 to our opponent. Breach the Multiverse is Black's version of Atali. It is the oops, I just win. And we're probably just dead. Oh my god, they hit our Nissa. Yeah, we're just dead. So, I mean, they get an 8/8 out of Nissa. They hit double Nissa too. They can't get both. They can Perforator Crocodile. Oh yeah. Breach the Multiverse is just like the game's over. They were on the play with 3 pieces of ramp. Actually 4 pieces of ramp. The Cultivator too. We killed one of their mana dorks, but then they played a ramp snake and two other mana dorks. They just breached us super fast. And there's just no way we're breaking through a Nissa and a massive creature. I guess we've got more spells towards Bloodthirsty Adversary to choose from. Nope, they milled 0 instants or sorceries. Alright, Adversary still just hit Shove Aside, but I could, Eternalize a Fanatic. If I want to play Atali next turn, if I can survive that long. Maybe our opponent will time out making their decisions here. They're out of hourglasses. Nope. Nissa and Gisa it is. Luckily, Nissa can't commit a crime right now. But all they have to do is +1 and then -7 next turn and we're dead. So I think I have to actually Tumblewag after Nissa here. Which is big enough to clear out a couple of their creatures, right? Molten Impact, that's a good one. We can kill Gisa. Can already shove aside the Cultivator or shove aside the Nissa to make sure they don't ult us. So is Adversary on shove aside better than Molten Impact? Maybe, but if I Molten Impact, I get to play Incubation Druid this turn as well, which is pretty large. There's no artifacts or enchantments over there. I have to pay 2 life to target Gisa, and 2 mana, more importantly. So Impact would basically cost all my mana as well. Well then, let's see what Tumblewag accomplishes then, I suppose. $12-12 Tumblewag. We just try to dome Nissa. Then I can impact the Gisa, take a hit from everything. Try to have Atali flip things. Okay, we clear out the 2-3 instead. It's probably what happens no matter where I attack. So, we have to make sure Nissa doesn't ult us or we're going to die. So I have to shove aside Nissa for 3. Which she's still going to be alive and give them another creature, but we won't literally die next turn anymore. To the +3/+3 trample on everybody. I guess technically we don't quite die. We'd have to play a bunch of stuff and chump with it all. So now we have a couple turns where they're just going to get really big horrors. Ah, the Terra Sunder for Tumblewag. Okay, well then it's pretty locked in against us. So now we don't have a threat to keep edicting them with. Keep making them sack something every turn. Yeah, I mean, there's no way through this now. 8 life already. I don't even know if there's a way to survive next turn, but there's definitely no way to flip the game. Alright. That was gross. They were on the play with a tremendous amount of ramp towards the breach, and the breach was just unstoppable. Right? Excellent late game. We need to Once Upon a Time into the good early game. I think we try for turn 1 Elvish Mystic every time in this deck. Did not get turn 1 Elvish Mystic. Got a 5-drop and then we can play Nissa on 6. So I actually think we hit mana over Hellrider. Hellrider does give us a 4-5-6 curve though. Yeah, maybe. Should go for that. I just need to draw 2 lands this game because I can play Nissa for 5. It's just a turn 4, turn 5, turn 6 curve. Playing against blue-red. There's the Spell Spear. kind of think I have to face breaker instead of doing anything about that immediately. Said I might be able to get a treasure and curve out even if I don't hit lands here, because that was 2 non-land draws for us. That would be a really bad block. They play any instant and get us. Alright, well, 3 for 3 on not lands. So picking up the Hell Rider with Once Upon a Time might come back to bite us. Yeah, now if I try to shove aside and they have any other spell, like they could just bolt my face and save Spell Spear. Feels pretty bad to try to shove aside there. Well, we took a risk with our Once Upon a Time. We ended up on the losing side of that risk this game, sadly. I think we had 3 draw steps to hit the land. No, just 2 draw steps. Since they dealt with Facebreaker. We did find it on the 3rd draw step. It's nice. Run out the Hell Rider. Just get them to counter it here doesn't seem bad. If they tap out to deal with Hell Rider, that means Facebreaker hits them and we get to keep a treasure token. If they don't deal with it, we get a couple damage out of it, no matter what. Okay. Double Prowess would be rough. Bone Crusher's basically another removal spell, though, so I didn't really get like 2 for 1 there. I mean, Bone Crusher's a 2 for 1, but it is like they spent the removal spell to kill a creature. We just pretend that Hell Rider was a 3-2 and they killed it with their 2 damage spell. It wasn't really like a blowout because of prowess or anything. One of the more fair prowess interactions I've seen. Do I just want to, like, clear their board here? They have 2 1-mana spells. I guess they could double prowess this Spell Spear. I think we just take the turn to clear the board. We can stabilize with our 5 drops whenever we hit them. As long as we stop getting beat up right now. That is one of the easier collectors to trigger. And its ability is really good. Oh my god. Just flashback all their nonsense. What I would give for an arena cube without alchemy, honestly. So they can just flashback swords to plowshares on whatever they want here. And they can do it at instant speed as well, for some reason. So they get to be fully untapped before they even decide if they need to swords anything. If I try to Nissa, they can probably counter it. If I play either of these, they just swords it. I mean, they can swords this thing and we don't get the death trigger or anything. Yeesh. Yeah, I mean, Sapphire Collector just completely takes a firm control of this game. I guess we blew the removal a little too aggressively. I just didn't want to keep getting hit by all this. Alright, well. We lose the Sapphire Collector because we don't have a way to interact with it. I don't even think passing works super well for us, but at least we have the adaptability on Incubation Druid. So we can spend all our mana into something here without giving them better cards to deal with yet. We can see if we can get them to blow some interaction on these two. Swords the Druid. I don't have any instants here. I might as well gain 3, I guess. I could activate the Ridgeline as a blocker, but that's pretty relevant. So got double blue up here for potential counters. Let's see. No counter on the War Chief. Alright. I can block all this nonsense. Not all of it, but one at a time. Oh, because they have more exile removal, and it's the one that gives them a copy. So they gain a bunch of life and get a 4/4 when that dies. And even if I kill the Pyromancer, it just turns into more elementals. Alright, well, this matchup felt pretty horrible. So I could have... Couple things. We could have kept removal in case they played better threats. And I could have kept the land over the creature on the Once Upon a Time. Again, that's technically a slightly preemptive concession because I can Nissa there and have 2 blockers, but I mean, we're monumentally likely to die. So I'm just going to move on so I can get some more cube games in and get all the cube drafts recorded in a day. Time is incredibly valuable to me lately. I've been super busy. So it has put some YouTube stuff a little to the sideline. I'm focused on speeding through. Especially when it's a format like Cube. Honestly, Cube's my least favorite draft format. I don't bring it up too often because Cube is incredibly popular, but I'm not that into cubes. I much prefer just drafting a normal set, where each different set has its own mechanic and flavor and themes and everything. So each set can feel a lot different. It's like a brand new format to get through. But Cube is like kind of like... it's like part of what I don't like about Constructed also, where it's like this just big mush of everything. Alright. Well, this is really bad. This is a great start for Mono White. They've already got the 3 creatures for Legion's Landing to flip. Probably have to shoot myself with Shatter Skull Smashing so I can go Molten Impact Play with Fire, spend 2 removal spells to deal with their 2 spells as well. The fact that I can't exile this Evangelist is pretty rough, because it means they are still going to be left with a creature here so that they can still trade into Magda. If I try to attack with Magda to get the treasure. So that's pretty unfortunate. I am out of interaction here, so I'm not going to get the 1/1 out of the way at any point, so I think I might as well cash in the treasure token. Because even the 1/1 is valuable because we have a Love-Struck Beast coming up. So we're not going to lose, we're not going to get that 1/1 out of the way to be able to do anything with our 1/1 or our Magda without losing something valuable, like the 1/1 or the Magda. Lauren to blow up the treasures. I mean, that's annoying, but they just blowed up a token. So it is not the end of the world, especially because that means Eska's Chariot is free to roll in. They don't have a flicker in hand. Do I play around the flicker? I don't think I do, right? Because even if they flicker Lauren, I just have 2/2/2 cats at this point, which is still really good. I guess Watley locks in a War Chief, so Watley's still good here. Alright, if they block, then we certainly slam down Chariot. Alright, so again, like, Lauren killing the treasure, like, it's a little rough that we lose the treasure, but not having the way to blow up Chariot is massive. Perfect, we even hit the land for War Chief here. Beautiful. Could send the cats in, but I'd be chump attacking with one cat to hit them for 2 more damage. I don't think it's worth sacking a cat to deal 2 damage right now. Sarah Paragon, that's a big one. They recast Lauren from grave to kill the Chariot now. That's gonna be nasty. Not yet. Well, and now I just top decked basically another Molten Impact to get the Paragon out of here. Just absolutely incredible for me. Yeah, I mean, that's just game. There's the concession from our opponent, and we're 2-2 heading into game 5. All right, here we are on the draw for game 5. A pretty good hand. I want to Watley turn 3 to lock in the 4th mana. We certainly want to shove that aside. We did draw into the 4th mana, so I could hold on to Shatterskull Skull Smashing for now. Chance we play it as a spell. We might be okay to shoot ourselves for 3 in this matchup, worst case scenario. Ooh, they're stuck on mana. Let's go. Kind of want a Face Breaker then. Because this can pressure their life total and get a War Chief down next turn. Although I could just Ansrag also without cracking the treasure. Which is also pretty good. And this certainly looks like a position where we're good to just shoot for 3 since we didn't draw lands. No, the 2 mana counter? I've got 1 mana if it's Censor. Okay, it's not the 2 mana counter. Let's go. Bounce it to my hand and draw a card. Fair enough. Trying to draw into lands, and they did. It's 2 land draws in a row for them now. Cast Ansrag and a 2-drop, or just a War Chief. I could just start drawing cards off these treasures while I know Facebreaker's still around, just cast whatever these hit. But I really want to pressure them while they're lower on mana. Let's play the 8-power creature. And that's just a threat and a half. I don't want to overextend into a board wipe too much, so I'll probably cast Once Upon a Time. Because they could have, like, Deluge, destroy everything for 4 life. There's plenty of other cards they could have now that they have a second white. Okay, it is just going to be 1/1 removal. Fateful Absence, the Ansrag. Actually, not even a 1/1. We get to draw a card off of that, so it's a little more value in our favor. Sure, Magda. Could blitz the War Chief, but I'm fairly certain we're hard casting that. Okay, now I think I should just start cracking treasures. I actually maybe should have not even played the land, because I think if we hit a land off this, we can play it. Yeah. That was a pretty big miss. I guess that's the problem with Facebreaker here, right? Is if we hit any burn, it doesn't do anything, because they have no creatures. I'm actually just going to stop myself there. Let's just play the War Chief. They look actually like really controlling, so I am still kind of playing around a board wipe here, just dropping 1 threat a turn. So Field of the Dead. Yeah, that is certainly an excellent control finisher. Just every land they play comes with a 2/2. I don't know what on earth is in their hand here, because we know it's not lands. Are they just getting really greedy with a board wipe? Maybe. I mean, even if they board wipe us, we just get to start attacking with the ridgeline here. Just gonna play a Huatli, flip a Huatli, I think. Because it's gonna be like they have to board wipe, and even if they do, the Saga is popping off to where we get to search for Natali soon. Unless their board wipe deals with non-creature permanents as well. Okay. Bounce Swatley, postponer. Warzone Duplicator. That card is busted and I hate it. It's one of the most irritating alchemy cards in the cube. It bounces your best permanent and puts a duplicate into their hand. So this is not a token or anything. It's full on. They just have this card in their deck now. So if I bounce it, they can recast it. If it goes to the grave, they can pick it up from grave. Well, they can't block Facebreaker, so there's probably some way to deal lethal. Blitz the War Chief. I can Hellrider. It's probably, yeah, it's Hellrider, activate Ridgeline, buff Facebreaker. That's gotta be lethal, right? So we're tapped out. Hellrider was just a dumb draw. That's just the lethal draw. I'm pretty confident. Yeah, that's a super lethal draw. Well, disregard all complaints about Duplicator, we top deck lethal, and there you go. Right, here we are for game 6. We're 3-2 right now. There's a Love-Struck Beast. I guess we can pillar their human so theirs can't attack, but we can do that later. Let's get our own human. And this gives them time to play something better for us to pillar, like if they play a Llanowar Elves or an Elvish Mystic, we'll shoot that instead. Ooh, a Smuggler's Copter to crew with their 1/1. That's a better use of their 1/1 than I have. I could Boseiju the Copter, but then they get a land and ramp up, and that is horrific for me right now, so I'm just going to pillar their 1/1. So the Love-Struck Beast can't attack and block, but the Beast can still crew that Copter, which is an issue. Lotus Cobra can crew it as well. That gives them a mana discount immediately, which they spent on a 2-mana rock. So they are just ramping like crazy on the play here. They're already to 6 mana spells if they play a land next turn. That's probably not good. One of our other losses was just our opponent ramped into Breach the Multiverse on like turn 4 on the play. So let's hope they're not doing something quite that bad. Because this is a pretty slow hand. We're not really doing anything turn 4. Sky Sovereign is not quite as bad as Breach the Multiverse, but it is still absolutely lethal here. Yeah, we have to Boseiju that and give them a land, but hopefully down to 1 card in their hand, that land is not going to do anything for them. Do I play with Fire the Lotus Cobra? Probably. Their other cards are a 5/5, a 3/3. We can't play with Fire those anyway. Yeah, let's do that before they get a mana here. They can move up the crew chain, which is absolutely hilarious. Alright, Love-Struck Beast, crew Sky Sovereign, then we blow up Sky Sovereign. But then they can use Sky Sovereign to crew Copter, so we blow it up right now before this resolves. So we get no attack this turn. Then actually Nissa puts in a lot of work here with just the minus ability on Smuggler's Copter. I'm at enough of a life total here. I still think I play War Chief first so we can play Nissa with higher loyalty when we do play her. And then we get to start attacking with our big Trampler. Hangerback Walker dies into a bunch of 1/1s that can split up, divide, and conquer. Conquer our Nissa. Which actually I think means I'm supposed to hold up Shove-Aside here. So they crew Smuggler's Copter going after Nissa. Yeah, I think we're supposed to start making tokens and then just shove aside the Smuggler's Copter and hold up the ability to blow stuff up for later. Oh, okay, we're blowing up the Great Henge. I'd like to do this now, moving to combat. So they don't draw a card, discard a card. Great Henge only triggers on non-tokens. Oop. Don't really want to attack into the Hangerback Walker with Nissa on board. Wouldn't be horrendous, but I just don't see how we lose. If they don't have a board wipe, I don't see how we lose if we just sit here and plus Nissa like every turn. So if I attack into this, like, they're going to trade into one of these and get 4, I can kill one of them, but then they kill Nissa. Hello? 1 mana off. Goodbye? I guess Hangerback Walker has some inevitability to it as well, but I think Nissa outraces Hangerback Walker in terms of threat level a little bit. Voracious Hydra, clear out a 4/4. No, make an 8/9, fair enough. That's not a land? Well, you're still a monumental blocker. Force an Aindrag block to get 2 attacks in? That might be lethal? It's definitely huge. Okay, they are sending an 8/9 trample at Nissa, though. Beast can't attack anyway, I'll just trump. If they can't clear out Aindrag, this might actually be lethal now. Definitely if they can't play any more creatures, because then Aindrag Beast blocks there. These all untap, get another combat. Ooh, Pest Infestation with the Hangerback Walker is nutty. Oh my god. I found the land for a Tolly, but I don't get to play it till next turn. Well, that's gross. So Nissa is definitely dead next turn. Also, Lovestruck Beast is super attacking now. If they want it to. Well, at least now that Hangerback Walker's dead, I'm pretty free to attack however I want. Yeah, I mean, if they kill Aindrag, I attack with everybody again. So let's just go big and go crazy. No block on Aindrag. Gonna try to lethal me? They must have some other trick or else. 1 + 6. Yeah, I just play a single creature and I'm not dead anymore. They gotta have some kind of trick here that they were planning on. Hopefully it's not big enough to break through a creature plus Molten Impact. If it like buffs the whole board, we're probably dead no matter what, because just the sheer amount of tokens here. Okay, so there's an Uro. They've got 11 damage on board. Uro flips the Everflame, that is now 14 damage if they equip the Everflame. Okay, so just kill Nissa, poke me a tiny bit. Fair. There's Paleontologist. So I get to a Tolly and then go for big Aindrag swings. What do you got, Atali? Oko? I don't even know what this Oko does, but it's probably good. Draw 2. Discard 2. Get a 3/3 elk. Probably just getting an elk. Could be a hexproof creature I control. Okay. At 15. 3 blockers on the ground. They're at 12. If they let Aindrag through, they're at like 4, but then I don't untap anybody. This is a sketchy position. How do I not die at 15? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Have any dinosaurs in their grave? They have no dinosaurs in their grave, so paleontologist is just mana. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 power on their board. If I have just like 2 blockers up, they already don't crack back for lethal without extra stuff. So I'm fairly sure I just attack with everybody. Oh, loyalty abilities can't be activated. Oh, you have to pre-combat Oko's ability. Okay, they scooped anyway. We needed to pre-combat make the elk. It's interesting to know. Again, first time ever playing Oko. Yeah, a copy of up to 1 creature you control until end of turn does not remain in Oko. It doesn't keep Oko's abilities during that time. So, okay, so you want to main phase 1 make the elk, then become a face breaker, so you get 2 treasures there. Set them with everybody. Apparently our opponent did not have anything, because he did scoop them up there, but I was still worried. Any of those spells that just like buff the whole board, but there's probably not a lot of those in the cube, because not a lot of them are particularly cube worthy. Anyways, we have breaking through. We are now officially at a positive win rate no matter what at 4-2 as we head into game 7. And here's game 7, Royal Eruption for their first threat, Tumblewag to be our first threat. Playing against another blue deck. This has a Lutri in the companion slot to copy an instant or sorcery later. Lutri is also the completely free companion, and it looks like a control deck from our opponent, because they are on blue-white, which is pretty rough, because this is our, I think, our slowest hand yet, and the slower you start, the more likely the control decks are to be able to take over the long game. Because now they can just interact with everything we play. They've had plenty of time to set up the mana, the cards. There's Aven Interrupter. So I cast this for 2 in the future. I guess I cast it for free the turn that I kill the Aven Interrupter. It's kind of cool. So I could like Collective Defiance, shoot the Interrupter and their face, and then Tumblewag for free. I can also just Hasty Hellrider and save all my double spelling nonsense for later. Because now I can go like Watley, Royal Eruption, or Watley Molten Impact, Tumblewag for 0. Next turn. They might just hold a bunch of mana up, though. Then I just play multiple cheap removal spells. I'd rather have Molten Impact Resolve than Royal Eruption, I think. Gross. Subtlety's pretty annoying. They are down to 12, though. We're getting our chip damage in with this Hellrider. Really wish I had another green source, so I could double spell this Elvish Mystic out. Oh boy. I mean, so we just play a Tumblewag, get it countered pass. It's honestly better if Tumblewag gets countered than if Watley does. We don't want to play Collective Defiance till they have something to shoot with Molten Impact. Alright, it's just a straight counterspell, go to 8. Cryptic Coat, that is a blocker. What is the ward on it? Ward 2, Jesus. So I have to tap out to try to kill that, and then I don't even get to shoot their face at all. And I tripped them down to 7. They trade, then they pick up the coat to replay later. That is pretty astronomically bad, isn't it? Just try to tap out to kill it and then pass? Or do I play threats for later Mystic plus Ainsreg? I think we try to kill it here. They can still pick up the coat itself. Oh my god, this is the Molten Impact ward, right? Decline. This one we pay for. Then after we pay for this, they get to choose if they want to counter or respond in any way. They do not. Hopefully put them to 4. Vendilion Clip for the trade. Bounce our Ainsrag. But we get to draw a different card if they do that. And they got rid of Watley. Alright. I guess Ainsrag is... No, it isn't trumpable. But it's lower toughness than a bunch of dinos. Easier to not die to by a little bit. Facebreaker is just the exactly correct mana base, or mana cost, to be as annoying as possible here, where I can't Ainsrag and then Facebreaker if they counter it. Yeah, it is just the actual most annoying mana cost possible. Just exactly not enough. Alright. And the game's unlock. Now they've got Gear Hulk, Flare of Denial. Just had too slow of a start against the Control Shell. Can probably just move on here, but it is our final loss to give. So we'll see if there's any way we can top deck something that wiggles our way out of this, but it is very unlikely. That's useless. They go to 6. Coat goes back to the hand. We are down to 11 here, so at least we die somewhat quickly. Just a few more Gear Hulk hits. There's the coat. It feels like our best bet is to just clear out like one blocker here. They can always replace it with a Lutri if we draw anything to make that matter, but we have to break through somewhere. Okay, they have Spell Pierce anyway. Seiju. Well, they can't counter that, and that gets our menace in if they have nothing, which is unlikely but possible. Oh, they actually just play Lutri, and then Facebreaker trades into Lutri. Yeah, wow, they're just so locked in for it. We can't even get menace damage in. At least we make sure the Lutri doesn't copy anything. They have the extra removal anyway, but it draws us a card. Blitzed out Warchief is somewhat threatening, but it's certainly not close to lethal. Because they just replay Coat here, they're going to have 4 toughness minimum between Coat and Lutri. So they take like 2 damage if they let Warchief in entirely and the Mystic. Or if they let the Mystic in entirely and trump the Warchief damage, then it's like 2. Well, they can't counter Blitz as easily as another spell, and it does draw us a card. Oh, you can counter Blitz just like you're countering a spell? It is casting for the Blitz spot? It is casting for the Blitz cost. Alright, well. If either of these is a manifested creature, we're just dead. Looks like they're non-creature cards. There's Monastery Mentor. Show me that last counter spell. There you go. Alright, that was not particularly fun. But what are you gonna do? We lost the game like 10 turns ago, just might as well play that one out since I scooped in some earlier ones instead of playing it out. 4 and 3 it is. It's a reasonable record for this deck. It's not insane or anything, it's just a solid green-red beats build. Maybe with some perfect lines and being really resilient and fully playing out the first 2 losses. Maybe there's some possible way getting really lucky to win one of those. Or playing better. But I don't know. I think this is a solid record for a solid deck. It's not incredible. If I was completely omniscient, I would have loved to just be mono red from the get-go, but I did quite like the Elvish Mystic into Lovestruck Beast start to keep us on green. Once we started wheeling the red, then I felt really comfortable hopping on pretty heavily, but still hopping on a full mono red at that point would be difficult. So yeah, I think we only would have ended up with like a busted mono red deck if we just went there from pack 1 pick 1 or pack 1 pick 2 at least. If we did pivot onto mono red pack 2 and onward, we would have had a mono red deck that's about as powerful as this Gruul deck, because we would have had to run at least a couple 2 or 3 filler cards in the end to get it there on playables. So yeah, there's not a ton to say about this deck. It was pretty basic, pretty simple. Ainzrag was fine. Not super excited about the card. I didn't completely hate it either. It was okay. Atali was just incredible, as you imagine. Nissa was incredible. Chariot was great. I don't think there's any huge overperformers or underperformers. Nothing did way better or way worse than I thought it did. It was just a pretty basic, pretty simple build. We have seen very similar stuff time and time again. So that is a 4 and 3 run for the Gruul aggro deck. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.